Hey y'all, welcome back. I am out at the tunnel trying to get a little bit of bed prep done today. I'm gonna apologize in advance. It is midday here, so the sun is not our friend right now, so the lighting's probably not gonna be great for this video, and it is a little bit windy, so hopefully the sound comes across fairly clear. But this is the only time I had to work today. I gotta go pick up the boys here in a little bit, so I was trying to hopefully get at least one-ish bed done here in the tunnel. And I wanted to take you along for that process because I feel like we fairly frequently get questions about how we prep our beds or how we prep new ground for garden space. So I just wanted to talk about that today. So if you've been following along with us, you know that about, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, I posted a video talking about all the loss we had in the tunnel. We had some cold nights. Plants were not prepared for that because we had an unseasonably warm fall. And we've lost pretty much everything in the tunnel. The silver lining to that is it did give us the opportunity to source out some really good compost, some wood chips. Finally, we've been waiting on wood chips for years now, but we finally got some really good wood chips. And it just gave us the opportunity to get the beds right in here the way we've wanted to do them from the beginning, but we've just not had the opportunity to do. So that's what we're doing now. You see a little bit of lettuce back there. That's actually gonna be a walkway now. We have resized our beds and we are getting things ready and level in here. And I wanted to show you that process in case it was helpful for you. So I feel like a lot of times prepping new ground for a garden space or a growing area can be a little overwhelming because there are a lot of opinions and a lot of ideas out there about the right way to do it. And again, like I feel like I say this in every video, but in my opinion, there's really not a right or a wrong way to do it. There's just all sorts of methods to do this, to prepare new ground. And so don't feel like what I'm going to show you today is the way that you have to do it. It's not. It's just one way to do it. And it's a way or a method we've been using for a few years now, really. And I just now realize that it actually has a name to it. And it is the deep compost mulch system is basically what we use here. And I'll go ahead and start off by telling you I am no expert with this method or this system. Like I said, we've been using it for a few years now. And now that I realize that it actually has a name, I've been researching it a little bit more. I've been listening to podcasts. I actually bought a book about it. So I do know a little bit about it, but there's a lot I still don't understand, or I know about it, but I can't talk in depth about it because I just don't have the knowledge base. So the plan today is just to kind of show you the method, talk about what I do know about, but definitely encourage you to do your own research because there are definitely a lot of pros and cons to it. And it may be something that would work great for you, but it also may be something that is just not going to work for you. So the deep compost mulch system, I feel like is a term that it's gaining some traction, but it has been around for a while. So it is what it sounds like. It's a deep layer of compost that you are essentially using as your layer of mulch, okay? So some might ask, why didn't we just till the ground up in here, throw some compost in the ground, till that up as well, and call it good? And it's because we try to do no-till here, no-till, no-dig, and this allows us to do that. So this is one of the more popular methods, I feel like, if you're going the no-till, no-dig route. So what we are doing here is using that system. We are doing here in the tunnel, we're doing 30-inch beds with 18-inch walkways because that's just what makes sense for us right now. Our walkways are wood chips because we did find a free and local source of really good quality wood chips, which was awesome. So that's going to be our walkways. You can see that we've already started putting some over here and then over in that walkway. I still need to do this walkway here. But our beds are consisting of a nice, thick, deep layer of compost. And depending on what sources you're reading or where you're getting your information from, I mean, typically you're going to see that it's recommended that you have anywhere from like 4 all the way, I've seen up to 8 inches of compost. What we've gotten here in the tunnel is roughly 4 inches. The ground was really unlevel in here. That's another reason that I'm kind of glad that we are not currently growing in here because it's giving us the opportunity to level this out. So some layers the compost is quite a bit thicker, but I would say that the thinnest layer of compost we have is roughly about 4 inches. So it's almost like you're just building a raised bed, and the medium or the material that's holding the compost in place, as opposed to actually building a raised bed with lumber or whatever, is the wood chips. The wood chips are going to be what holds the compost in place. So why are we calling it mulch? Why not just say deep compost? Well, because the compost is also acting as your mulch, okay? So if you think about why do we typically use mulch, there are several reasons we use it. One of the major reasons is to suppress weeds, right? So by adding a really thick layer of this dense compost on top of your ground, your already existing ground, you are suppressing weeds. Are you going to suppress 100% of them? No, you're not. But any mulch, whether you're using wood chips, straw, pine needles, chopped up leaves, that's not going to suppress 100% of your weeds. But this nice thick layer of compost will act as a mulch to suppress weeds. Another reason that we use mulch is to hold in moisture, right? So a good thick layer of mulch will help retain moisture in your garden. It will help make healthier plants. Well, a good thick layer of this compost will do the same thing. It will help hold in some moisture, retain some moisture for your plants. Another reason that you use mulch is for temperature control. So in the wintertime, a lot of times you'll add mulch around your plants, and that will help retain some heat for your plants in those really cold months. And then in the summer, it does the exact opposite. You add that mulch down, and it actually helps cool the ground a little bit. And the compost can do the same thing. What the compost can do that the other mediums really can't do is that the compost is also your medium to grow in. So it's like using this compost as your mulch, but also using it as your growing medium. And it just is like this all-in-one product, if that makes sense. One thing that I did want to kind of touch on in terms of weed suppression. So this thick layer of compost, it does help with weed suppression. A lot of times what you'll see people use with this method is cardboard. So a lot of times people will start off with a layer of cardboard. They'll wet it down really wet, and then they'll put their compost over that. And that even further suppresses weeds. We have not done that in the tunnel here. That is what we would have done. However, the weed situation in the tunnel is pretty well under control at this point. Last year we did use a fabric barrier, and that killed out quite a bit of the weeds. Before we ever put the tunnel up, we actually tarped it with a silage tarp. We tarped the ground, and that also helped with the weeds. So weeds aren't just a huge problem in here. We do have some, but I feel like at this point, as we move into the spring and summer season, it's something that I can manage by just hand picking, a couple times a week or so. But if we did have a major weed problem in here, or really just a moderate weed problem in here, I would put down a layer of cardboard before I ever put down the compost or the wood chips. There are some drawbacks to using this system. It sounds great. It sounds like it's the perfect system, right? But there are some drawbacks. Some I know a lot about, some I have only read about and I haven't actually experienced, so you'll have to do your own research on. The number one drawback I would say is sourcing compost. So getting a really good quality compost can be hard depending on your location, and that's something we've run into. I have bought a massive quantity of, a whole dump truck load of compost, and it turns out it was not good quality compost. It actually had biosolids in it, which is just not something we wanted to use. It had a lot of plastic in it, had a lot of glass in it. Lesson learned for future is that when I buy compost, I need to ask a lot of questions on the forefront before I make my purchase. I need to actually look at it. I mean, if I had laid eyes on the compost, I would have known I wouldn't have wanted it. It had little bits of plastic and glass all in it. So being able to actually get your hands on a really good source of compost is going to probably be a determining factor on whether or not you can use this method. The other drawback to this system is price. Compost is not cheap generally. The compost we buy is not cheap, and we are putting a lot of it in here. So at least 4 inches per bed. They are 50-foot beds by 30 inches, and there are 5 of them. So that's not cheap. And I would say the final drawback to using this system is most definitely something that I am no expert in. I can tell you that it's something that you're going to want to look into before you you go out and you source out all these materials and you pay for them and all that. But just know that when you start using compost in such large quantities, that it can really throw off your macro and your micronutrients in your soil. It's really something you want to look into. That's about as far into it as I'm going to go, because it's really all I know about it. It's not really a problem that we have encountered so far, but I'll also tell you that we use this system, but I also send off a soil sample every season, at the beginning of every season, and that's actually what I'm going to do today in one of these beds. Well, I say one. I typically get multiple samples out of this tunnel and mix them all together, and I'll send that off, and I will amend based off of that sample. So as you can see that we've already started on this. We've just been slowly working on it as time allows. Life has been kind of crazy lately with schedules. Tyler has actually done most of this for me. Thank goodness. Today he is at work, and so I'm going to try to get some of it done. We have our compost in that 30-inch bed there. I still need to wood chip that bed. We have compost in that one, and then these two walkways here have the wood chips, and so I still need to compost this bed and this bed. And then there's a bed over there that already has compost in it. So we're kind of roughly halfway there. I'm going to try to get a little bit of it done today while I have a few hours. So let's get started. Looks like one bed of compost is about all I'm going to have time for today. But I did get this 150-foot bed done, filled with compost. There are the wood chip walkways on either side. And then really all I have left are 2 or 3 more walkways and then one more 50-foot bed of the compost. Once we get back our soil analysis and we amend based off of that, that should really have us set up for planting in the tunnel. And the tunnel should officially really be done, other than, seasonal soil analysis and amendments and all that. But 150-foot bed's all I got time for today. Hope this was helpful for you guys. We will see you next time. Bye.